Let's talk about Detentionaire, that underrated Canadian animated series that's basically Gravity Falls meets Scooby-Doo, but with a high-stakes conspiracy twist. Yeah, this one's a total hidden gem. Created by Bryan Franklin and Charles Johnston, it takes the classic wrongfully accused trope and turns it into a wild, multi-layered mystery that'll keep you guessing until the very end. The story follows Li Ping, a high schooler who gets framed for a massive prank and sentenced to a year of detention. But here's the kicker. As Li digs deeper, he uncovers a sprawling conspiracy involving secret societies, mind control, and a mysterious pyramid beneath his school. And it's not just about clearing his name, it's about saving his friends, his school, and maybe even the world. So if you're into shows with actual depth and a killer cliffhanger ending, Detentionaire is your next binge. With that said, let's dive in. Li Ping kicks off 10th grade at Enigma High with his mom, who, by the way, teaches there. He's joined by his squad, Holder and Camilio, but things go sideways when Holder accidentally blabs about Li's crush on Tina Kui during a school broadcast. Oh, and Principal Worst, gone. Enter General Barrage, a drill sergeant disguised as a principal. Chaos explodes at the first assembly. Lights out, frogs everywhere, stink bombs, potato flakes raining down, and a rogue red tassel-worm on the loose. Naturally, Li gets blamed when prank blueprints are found in a bag. Not even his bag, by the way. Seriously, there's a pink plot armor in there. Barrage slaps him with a year of detention, and his mom grounds him. But plot twist, Li's now the school's bad boy hero. Meanwhile, Tina and Chaz are fighting to interview Li. Clout chasers, am I right? Holder spots the cameraman's vintage black and white camera. Li sneaks out of detention, thanks to Biffy, the knitting bully who's low-key a softie, to clear his name. But a shadowy figure ambushes him and steals the footage. After dodging the cleaners and a rogue tassel-worm, because why not, Li finds a photo of someone messing with his bag. Now he's on a mission to expose the truth. Honestly, it's giving Riverdale, but with less murder. What more could you want? Li, Holder, and Camilio arrive at Enigma High. Holder's rushing, Camilio's milking Li's prank fame, and Li just wants everyone to forget the chaos. Nope, it's gone viral. They clash with jocks and Steve tackles Li. Tana mentions a kleptomaniac, but the cleaners are clueless. Li hands it a prank photo, spots a scab and championship ring, and investigates the football team. After burping on Biffy's food, detention again, Steve accuses Li of stealing his towel. Bub. Li clears the jocks as suspects, but Barrage drags him to detention. Biffy admits he freaked out to protect his tough guy rep while knitting for his three-legged cat. Li, Biffy, your cat's missing a leg. Barrage's brutal trouts involve dodging cannon-fired footballs. Holder becomes water boy, impressing everyone. Li tries out in disguise, uses math to catch a cannonball, and wows Barrage. Steve figures out Li's disguise but vows revenge. Holder clears most jocks as suspects. Li tackles Ed, exposing him as the thief with the ring, scab, and stolen items. Barrage chases Li, but Steve saves him by firing Barrage with the cannon. Li makes it back to detention just in time. At home, Li adds green paint to his evidence pile. Holder's thrilled about his water boy gig, but questions remain. What's the deal with the paint? Who framed Li? And when will his body stop hurting? Li hits a dead end in his search for the prankster, until he meets the skaters. They admit they handled the paint part of the prank and ask Li for more ideas. But of course, they misunderstand. They plan to rig the Student of the Week vote to make Principal Barrage win, then dump paint on him, Tina, and Chaz during a live announcement. Li barely stops the disaster, because let's be real, Tina covered in paint? Not a vibe. In the chaos, he discovers the prankster's email. Holder calls, revealing Li actually won the vote, and Camilio updates him about Brandy. Li tells them to keep quiet. Alone, he vows to find rad circles and uncover why he was framed. In the halls of Enigma High, Li's search for the prankster takes a sharp turn when he crosses paths with his old rival, Erwin of the Mathletes. Convinced Erwin is rad circles, Li sends Holder to spy on the Mathletes during detention. But Holder gets captured and tortured, forcing Li to sneak out and stage a risky rescue. Li confronts Erwin, who admits he sent an email to the skaters, but only to share a photoshopped image of himself and Li, making it look like Li was picking his nose. Meanwhile, Camilio investigates the photoshopped image and uncovers the shocking truth. Rad Circles is none other than former Principal Worst. The mystery deepens as Li realizes Worst framed him, but the question remains, why? Li finds himself in a tight spot when Brandy, his self-proclaimed girlfriend, blackmails him into attending her party. She threatens to expose his secret, sneaking out of detention if he refuses. To avoid his overbearing mom's wrath, Li reluctantly goes. At the party, he discovers the Dudes of Darkness, a mysterious group behind the hypnotic music used in the prank. But the night takes a turn when Li's mom sees him at the party on the news, breaking her strict grounding rules. Now Li's in even hotter water at home, all while trying to unravel the prankster's identity. After the chaos of last Friday, Li sets out to question the Dudes of Darkness about their involvement in the prank. He discovers that Cyrus, the band's member who recorded the hypnotic music during the prank, has become obsessed with its eerie effects. Under its spell, Cyrus quits the band, leaving Biff, their biggest fan, furious. Biff warns Lee to fix this mess or face his wrath. Using a recording of Burridge's voice, Lee snaps Cyrus out of his trance just in time for the Battle of the Bands, where they wow the crowd together. Back home, Lee debates whether to listen to the music himself, hoping it might reveal clues about the prank. But he hesitates, fearing he might fall under its spell, like Cyrus did. A flu epidemic hits Enigma High, but Lee's too focused on the prank song Mystery to care. Despite his fever, he listens and hears a cryptic message, "Switch the bag." Meanwhile, Burridge locks down the school as students drop like flies. Hallucinating, Lee sees the red Tazelworm as a British gentleman who leads him to a hidden lab, the prank song's origin. The Tazelworm claims Lee and Biffy are immune and shows Lee a file linking his family to an unknown trip to Asia when he was a baby. Before Lee gets answers, the cleaners storm in. He wakes in detention, unsure if it was real, until the Tazelworm returns his phone. At home, his dad denies ever being at the school. Mystery only deepens as the Tazelworm smirks. Lee gets an email from Rad Circles telling him to meet at the auditions for the school play. Disguised as the Lee character, Alexander Nigma, Lee shows up only to accidentally get cast as the star. During the play, Lee tries to outsmart Rad Circles in a weird game of cat and mouse, even attempting to use the email to force Rad Circles to reveal himself, but no luck. Things get messy when Brandy, his leading lady, gets fed up and rips off Lee's fake beard, almost exposing him. Thankfully, Biff and Camilio swoop in to save the day, covering for him just in time. Lee makes it back to detention before Burridge notices he's gone. Though he didn't catch Rad Circles, Lee sends an email vowing, "I'll find you." Lee gets a rare day off from detention thanks to the student's Charter of Rights, but his freedom is short-lived. While chasing a lead, he accidentally trespasses into the territory of the fearsome 15th graders, earning their wrath. To make matters worse, he discovers that someone, likely the Tazelworm, programmed a locker number and combination into his phone. Inside the locker, Lee finds his original bag from the day of the prank, but he doesn't have time to investigate further. The 15th graders are out for blood, threatening to haunt him for the rest of high school. Just as things look dire, the red Tazelworm swoops in to save Lee, allowing him to escape the 15th graders' clutches. Lee makes it home just in time to avoid further grounding from his mom. A frog outbreak at Enigma High leads to an emergency field trip to the recently reopened Green Apple Splat factory for the entire 10th grade. But chaos ensues when students accidentally trigger a meltdown, locking everyone inside. Lee and Principal Burridge, in an unlikely team-up, work together to save the class from both the meltdown and the factory's fearsome cyborg Tazelworms. Along the way, Lee discovers a key-like device planted in his bag by the red Tazelworm, which proves crucial to their survival. In a side plot, it's revealed that a trio of environmentalists released the frogs at the school and caused the meltdown. They also admit to releasing frogs during the original prank, though they're not connected to the larger conspiracy. While Lee and Burridge manage to save the day, the mystery deepens, leaving Lee with more questions than answers. On a rainy day, Lee is shocked to see Holder arrive completely dry. Holder reveals he found secret tunnels under the school and Brandy's apartment during Friday night's bites. Lee finds the supposed entrance in the library, but before he can explore, the fire alarm forces an evacuation, pulled by his own fan, Lynch, who lands in detention with Lee and Biffy. Vice Principal Victoria announces a library renovation, blocking Lee's access for weeks. With no choice, Lee lets Lynch tag along. Inside the tunnels, Lee finds his dad's office and a photo of his family in Korea after his birth. But when he brings Tina back, everything is gone. Meanwhile, Lee's friends act suspicious, avoiding him, only to surprise him with a rainy outdoor party. Lee's life takes another chaotic turn when he learns a Down with Lee club has formed Enigma High, thanks to his past pranks in 15th graders. To make things worse, Rad Circles is backing them, plotting to get Lee expelled. Desperate, Lee sends Camilio undercover to infiltrate the club. Camilio discovers their plan, a series of pranks against the staff meant to frame Lee. But it's all a distraction. Their real goal is to steal Burridge's prosthetic leg and plant it in Lee's locker. Lee and Holder team up to outsmart the club, sneaking the leg out of Lee's locker and leaving it somewhere Burridge can find without suspecting Lee. As Lee dodges expulsion, he mutters, "Of all the things I thought I'd be stealing in high school, Principal's leg wasn't on the list." Tina's new story takes an unexpected turn where she reveals the Glamazons wear hair extensions, embarrassing them and prompting Lee to suspect they'll seek revenge. Sneaking out of detention, Lee heads to the mall to protect Tina. While there, he discovers a bag identical to his was purchased at the mall. With Zed distracting the clerk and Holder sneaking in to steal the security footage, Lee uncovers a lead, but not before stopping what appears to be an attempt by Brandy to poison Tina. Turns out, it's just an elaborate scheme to break up Tina and Brad von Chilstein. Lee hitchhikes back to school just in time to avoid Burridge's wrath. At home, after sifting through hours of footage, Holder makes a shocking discovery. The only person who bought a bag like Lee's was Camilio. Meanwhile, in detention, Biffy reconciles with his childhood friend, Kimmy McAdams. After the previous cliffhanger, Holder keeps quiet about Camilio's involvement in the prank, fearing it'll ruin their friendship. Instead, he becomes convinced Camilio has been replaced by a robot and sets out to expose him. Meanwhile, Lee discovers Chaz stole the prank footage from day one and plans to air it on his Chaz's Corner segment. The footage contains proof of Lee's innocence, but Barrage is also hunting it down, offering rewards for its return. The popular kids, desperate to keep their embarrassing moments hidden, are after it too. Lee convinces Chaz to air the footage early, and while watching it, he discovers it was Camilio who switched his bag. At home, Lee tries to confront Camilio, but gets interrupted. Still, Lee sends Rad Circles an email declaring, "I know it's you, Camilio." Rad Circles responds with nothing but man-ankle laughter, leaving Lee more confused than ever. The mystery deepens, and Lee's determination to uncover the truth grows stronger, even if it means facing the possibility that his best friend betrayed him. Lee's popularity takes a hit as Cam climbs the social ladder, leaving Lee in the dust. Chaz gets suspended from the news desk, but Vice Principal Victoria shows up at a party to chat with the adults. Lee sneaks out of detention to steal one of Cam's shoes, hoping to match it to a shoe print from the rafters. Unfortunately, Burridge catches on, but Victoria covers for Lee, claiming she let him out to help carry books. She warns him not to let it happen again. Lee discovers Cam's shoe matches the print, but Holder and Cam aren't speaking to him, convinced he cares more about the prank and Rad Circles than their friendship. Cam explains he only switched Lee's bag because it fell, and he bought a similar one because it looked cool, later giving it to his sister. Lee's still unsure if Cam was hypnotized during the prank, especially since he acts like a monkey when someone says butterscotch. Holder convinces Lee to run for class president, thinking it'll help patch things up between Lee and Cam. When Lee learns winning could get him out of detention for good, he takes it seriously. Biffy helps Lee humiliate Cam, while Kimmy aids Cam in embarrassing Lee. Holder accidentally makes things worse by hinting Cam might reveal Lee's crush on Tina during the election. Unaware of Cam's plan, Lee prepares to use the word butterscotch to hypnotize Cam if needed. At the election, Cam spills the beans about Lee's crush on Tina, who thinks it's a lie. Lee retaliates by hypnotizing Cam, who then climbs onto the rafters like a monkey. Following him, Lee realizes Cam must have been hypnotized during the prank. Lee apologizes to Cam, and despite the chaos, Cam wins the election. Lee discovers Cam was hypnotized into helping with the prank and infiltrates the Outcasts, who were at his 10th birthday party when Cam was first programmed. The Outcasts want a whisker from the red Tazzleworm to cure their curse of being unpopular, and Lee and his friends agree to help. They uncover a hidden pyramid under the cafeteria, guarded by a swarm of blue Tazzleworms. Just as things get intense, the red Tazzleworm swoops in and saves them. Lee also learns the Outcasts weren't behind Cam's hypnosis, clearing their name. Back at home, Lee finds a photo from his 10th birthday party and spots Biffy in it. Turns out, Biffy's been around longer than Lee thought. Maybe he's not just a knitting bully after all. Lee, Camilio, and Holger deal with chaos at school. Camilio accidentally votes for military-style school uniforms, turning the entire school against him. He races to undo his mistake at the student council meeting. Meanwhile, Lee and Brandy track Biffy to Mobile Wireless Federation, where they discover Biffy's mom works. Biffy reveals he's Rad Circles and was pranking Lee, but his mom grounds him for it. Holder and Greta go on a chaotic date while evading the cleaners. Greta rescues Holder from a closet, proving she's more than just a date. Back at school, Camilio tricks Barrage into leaving the meeting, allowing Vice Principal Victoria to cancel the uniform rule. Lee adds his birthday party photo to his evidence pile, realizing Finwich might be connected to the conspiracy. Randy calls Lee, thrilled about their date. The mystery deepens as Lee connects the green apple splat logo to Man Wars Finwich. Tina's younger sister Ruby shows up, claiming she pulled the prank. Lee's skeptical and investigates, while Tina wonders if Ruby's being framed. Cam helps Lee chase the real Rad Circle, but they drop Rad Circle's phone in the chaos. Ruby confesses she didn't do the prank, she just wanted detention to skip university. Big brain move, honestly. Barrage gives Lee Rad Circle's phone and detention back. Lee charges the phone, ready to expose Rad Circle. But when he leaves for dinner, the phone's fully charged and locked. The mystery deepens, and Lee's closer than ever to cracking the case. Lee and Camilio are trapped on a roller coaster with cloaked figures chasing them, while an announcer reminds Lee he has 34 minutes to report back to his mom. Lee's stressed about cracking Rad Circle's phone, and Camilio reveals Lee's been blacklisted for supposedly framing Ruby Quee. They head to the fair, where Lee's parents surprise him with a family night. At the fair, Lee spots Principal Barrage and the amazing Finwich, who hypnotizes the crowd but fails with Lee. Finwich calls Lee Manifestum and flees, revealing his steampunk prosthetics. Lee, Camilio, and Holder chase Finwich, who's convinced Lee will kill him due to a curse. Lee saves Finwich from a falling beam, proving he's not a threat. Finwich dehypnotizes Camilio and admits anyone could have pulled the prank since Lee's party made the news. Lee barely makes it back to his parents with seconds to spare. At home, Lee realizes the prank could have been anyone and calls Biffy, who's still stuck on the Ferris wheel with Kimmy and Holder. Lee and Biffy barricade the library doors as cleaners the crystallizing lasers break in. Lee's casually playing paper football with Mrs. Rumpler Kitty Cat, because priorities, while Biffy struggles to crack Rad Circle's phone. Meanwhile, Camilio is in a student council meeting, totally checked out, just waiting for the weekend. Barrage panics over a school inspection and orders the cleaners to sanitize, except they go rogue, crystallizing students left and right. Lee, Biffy, Tina, Brad, and Camilio team up. Brad suggests an action movie plan, but Lee opts for a secret passage, which is blocked. Barricades fail, the cleaners break in, and Biffy knocks over a bookcase, revealing their robots. They lure them into the pool, but no short circuit. Tina suggests crystallizing the water, and Camilio pulls it off just in time. Barrage and Victoria desanitize everything, but Lee and Biffy wonder who really controls the cleaners. Lee's feeling down after seeing Tina and Brad kiss, but things get even crazier when Barrage's drones start bossing students around. Meanwhile, Tina and Chaz suspect the drones are glitching, just like the cleaners did. Barrage insists they're just temporary replacements and throws half the school into detention, including Lee, Biffy, Tina, Camilio, and Brad. When Inspector Blomkins arrives early, Barrage panics and bribes Brandy to stall him while hiding the detention crew in a portable classroom. Meanwhile, Brad tries to impress Tina with action hero antics, and Lee and Biffy keep working on cracking Red Circle's phone. However, Kimmy steals the phone, demanding lip balm in exchange. Lee trades a basketball for breath mints to get Brad's lip balm, but Kimmy loses the phone anyway. Later, Blomkins catches Barrage hiding students in the gym and fails him on the inspection. In retaliation, Barrage destroys all the confiscated phones. Determined to save them, Lee sneaks into the incinerator room. While Brad and Lynch crash through the vents to distract Barrage, Lee grabs the phones. Victoria then gives Lee new beta phones to distribute, saving Barrage from parental wrath. Finally, Rad Circle calls, revealing the first digit of the password is 7. Lee, Holger, and Camilio head to school, with Holger butchering Camilio's music. Brandy confronts Lee over a history question, and Camilio heroically steps in to help her study. Meanwhile, Biffy tells Lee the phone is uncrackable without a room of geniuses, a supercomputer, and 3 trained monkeys. Barrage, still grumpy about the phone ban, herds students into the renovated library. Lee spots the red tassel worm and follows it to a hidden entrance, where the Genius Club has a tech lab. They agree to hack Rad Circle's phone if Lee fetches the cleaner head he decapitated. Camilio tries to ask Tony out, but Brandy blurts out his feelings. Meanwhile, Lee sneaks into Barrage's underground lab, snags the cleaner head, and escapes. Back at the lab, Holder loses a dance-off, but Irwin cracks the phone code 732. Camilio gets his date, and Lee connects the dots about a matchmaking machine. Rad Circle calls, Lee taunts him before shutting him down. With the phone unlocked, Lee dives into the truth. Lee takes Victoria to the tunnels, warning her she's about to be kidnapped. Victoria reveals she used to be a government officer and Barrage wiped out her team. She tells Lee to frame Barrage to expose his evil side. Meanwhile, the school debates dance themes. Tima and Brad propose a Save the Rainforest dance, secretly hoping they'll be romantic for Tina, who plans to dance with Lee. Their idea wins after the prank song hypnotizes the students into voting for it. At home, Cam tells Lee that Holder's going to the dance with Kimmy. Lee's left juggling a conspiracy, a dance theme, and Holder's love life. Lee teams up with Lynch to track down Rad Circle, but things go sideways when Lee gets trapped in a room and Lynch vanishes. Rad Circle contacts Lee through a TV, taunting him. Lee escapes, finds Lynch's wallet, and heads to his house to search for him. At Lynch's house, Lee spots Barrage sneaking and using stealth mode. Lee follows, hides under Lynch's bed, and barely avoids Barrage's eye scanner. After Barrage leaves, Lee finds Lynch's computer, a video of Rad Circle, a voice modifier, and a billboard covered in knock-knock jokes. The evidence is clear. Lynch is Rad Circle. Cam and Brandy are called to room 113B, which looks like a janitor's closet but hides a secret elevator and a hypnosis system. They discover the underground room where Lee found the plug machine that's been hypnotizing the school, except Lee and Biffy. They destroy the machine and escape, but Biffy stays behind to deal with some hazmats. The school inspector arrives and Lee tries to expose Barrage as evil, but the inspector blames Lee for the school's problems and expels him. Meanwhile, Lynch, who's erased himself from everyone's memory, sets a trap at the school dance. Tina, feeling curious, starts to suspect something's off. Lynch tries to get Lee unexpelled since it messes with his plan. Tina, who's fallen for Lee, rescues him and learns the truth. They head underground to stop Barrage, but Vice Principal Victoria reveals she's the mastermind behind the hypnosis, planning to take over the world. She captures Barrage with hazmat help, targeting Lee because he's immune, unaware Biffy is too. Lee and Tina escape while Barrage gets beaten by Victoria's soldiers. Lynch admits he pranked Lee just to have fun being a loner. At the dance, Lee, Tina, Biffy, Cam, Brandy, and Holder stop Victoria by getting everyone to throw and break their phones while dancing. Victoria is taken by a council who hypnotizes everyone, except Lee, into forgetting everything but the dance. Lee finally asks Tana to dance, and the episode ends with a mysterious figure pulling off another prank. Barrage spills the beans during an interrogation, until his memory gets wiped. Meanwhile, at the Save the Rainforest dance, Brad pulls a second prank to one-up Lee. Lee gets blamed, expelled, and shipped off to Alaska. Yikes. But plot twist, a hazmat abducts him on the way to the airport. Lee escapes, thanks to the Tazelworm, and decides to clear his name by finding Barrage. Back at Enigma High, Superintendent Blomkins takes over as principal. Lee calls him out. He's not a student, so Blomkins can't stop him. Brad brags about his prank master status, but Tina shuts him down, pointing out he just won 2 years of detention. Lee, Biffy, Cam, and Holder search for Barrage. The tunnels? Empty. Cam finds Barrage's ID and cash. Security tapes? No luck. Blomkins catches Lee mid-snoop. Then a telegram changes everything. Lee's staying. Later, Cam reveals Barrage's address is on the ID. Blomkins goes full dictator, forcing students to make clogs in woodworking class. Meanwhile, Lee and Cam track down Barrage's house only to see the hazmats loaded onto a truck. They sneak into a hidden archive, find Barrage's old computer, but wreck it mid-chase, though they save the hard drive. At Biffy's parents' workplace, Biffy and Kimmy discover the hazmats clearing it out for demolition. Plot twist, Kimmy's mom owns the company and was the lady who congratulated Lee at the dance. They escape just in time. Back at school, Tanner refuses to make clogs and Holber torches his own, landing them in the mega clog cage. Lee and Cam follow the Tazelworm beneath woodworking class, freeing the students, but Lee gets caught. Blomkins tries to punish him with a clog launcher, but Mrs. Ping arrives for an epic clog gun showdown. She wins, Blomkins gets fired, and Tina and Holder are freed. At home, Lee finds his submarine image on the hard drive, while Kimmy's mom powers up Barrage to put him back in charge. Cassandra, aka Kimmy's mom and leader of the Parents' Council, drops a bombshell. No school today, but there's a catch. Students must keep a robo-baby alive for 24 hours. Green eyes, good. Red, bad. Flashing red, really bad. Lee rigs the pairings to be with Kimmy, hoping to spy on Cassandra. Meanwhile, Cam convinces Brandy to move her baby shower to Kimmy's house to help Lee's mission. Solid plan until Holder, trying to sabotage the party, makes every robo-baby flash red and spew goo. Party equals over. At Kimmy's house, Lee sneaks around while Biffy keeps Cassandra busy. Jackpot, he finds a hidden passage and spies on a council meeting about Barrage. But wait, why does it smell like rotten eggs? Before he can figure it out, Kimmy catches him. Cassandra denies being at the dance and Kimmy boots Lee and Biffy out. Furious, Biffy ends his friendship with Lee. Meanwhile, the Robo-Babies secretly plant bugging devices in their owners' homes. While returning the Robo-Babies, Lee and Tina try cracking the code he overheard in the Parents' Council meeting. Turns out, Chaz actually knows what it means. Oh, and surprise, Barrage is back as principal. He claims he was on holiday at Coral Grove, but conveniently doesn't remember anything about the whole brainwashing mess. Barrage drags Lee to the shiny new detention room and lays down a challenge. Escape and he's free from his original punishment. Easy, right? Not so much. Meanwhile, Biffy still won't talk to Lee, and Brad, desperate to outshine him again, hatches a stolen movie plan, steal Brandy and Greta to climb the popularity ranks. Chaz finally spills a code has something to do with his dad's plane arrival. Lee and Tina sneak off to investigate while Cam sets up a distraction for Burrage. They catch Cassandra meeting a shady councilman with a glowing briefcase. Before they can process that, a Reaper mad attacks. Tina ditches her camera, and they barely make it back to school in time. Back in detention, Lee gets 2 chances to escape and fails. His punishment, permanent. Lee overhears Barrage and Cassandra talking about fencing and assumes it's about the fencing team's epic losing streak, also known as the Curse of Earl Nigma. Meanwhile, Holder schemes to win Greta back from Brad. Cam tries to buy a book review for The Three Musketeers from Genius Grayson, and Tina helps Lee dig into Barrage's plans. To investigate, Lee joins the fencing team, and who knew? He's actually good. But Tina uncovers the truth. Cassandra wasn't talking about fencing, she meant an actual fence around the school. Meanwhile, Brad, desperate to impress his dad, secretly swaps out of the fencing tournament, making Lee fight in his place. Thanks to some mysterious underground pyramid energy, Lee wins, earning Brad's respect. Holger gets Greta back, Cam ditches cheating, but somehow the stolen review lands on his teacher's desk, giving him an A. Now, Lee has a bigger mystery. Why does the school need a fence? The Parents' Council tries to unlock the underground pyramid secrets using a key and a mechanical replica. Big fail. Now they're after the Tazelworm. The little guy swiped the real key from VP Victoria way back at the start of all this. At school, Barrage dangles a free A for anyone who captures the Tazelworm. Lee scrambles to save it, but Cam, Holder, and Brandy get caught trying to set it free. They get their reward, and the Tazelworm gets locked in a tunnel room. Lee and Biffy, still not over their fallout, track it down. 2 council members are about to implant a memory chip to find the key. Lee and Biffy swoop in, set the Tazelworm free, and, finally, Biffy forgives Lee. Meanwhile, Brandy schemes to take over the Glamazons, and Holder's shot at Greta crashes when she starts tutoring Jock Steve. Lee gets a message from Lynch. Meet him at the amusement park. Meanwhile, students protest the school fence and Cam's approval as President tanks. To win them back, he throws a protest concert. With Holder and Biffy's help, Lee sneaks out of detention but accidentally traps Biffy and Kimmy inside while they're spray painting the fence. Kimmy demands an apology on one knee, singing and recorded. At the park, Lynch reveals his true identity. Leopold Weber, president of Green Apple Splat. He had surgery to look younger but skipped the hair transplant. Suddenly, Reaper Mats attack, but black robots swoop in, fighting them off and helping Lee escape. Meanwhile, Cam gets blackmailed into canceling the concert, or his book report cheating secret gets out. He convinces the students the fence is actually great. Lee returns to detention and suggests Kimmy record Biffy's apology. She does, but the phone doesn't work. As Lee wonders how the council stays ahead, a bugging device keeps listening in his room. Lee's key and bag go missing. Cam and Holder distract Barrage by helping him interrogate suspects, while Biffy works on bypassing the phone blocking system. Lee spots the outcasts in a school news clip. Jenny's holding his bag. With Tina's help, he tracks them into the tunnels. The outcasts return Lee's things, explaining their Tazaworm whiskers burned up and they need another. Lee promises to help, making Jenny smile. They also find a locked book that might explain how to use the whiskers. Suddenly, blue Tazaworms attack the council of the pyramid, disrupting their control over the Tazaworms. Lee realizes the two keys unlock something inside the pyramid. When a blue Tazaworm attacks Jenny, Lee fights it off. With the red Tazaworm's help, they escape and return to school, where the red Tazaworm gives them a new whisker and unlocks the book. Lee and Jenny discovered his tattoo matches a symbol in the book, written in hieroglyphs. Barrage gives Jenny detention after Holder guesses she stole Lee's bag. Jenny uses the time to study the book with Lee, while Tina watches sadly. At home, Lee hides his key, unaware a bugging device above it is still blinking red. Lee struggles to hide the key, eventually putting it back under his bed. Meanwhile, Kimmy uses Cassandra's bugging devices to spread embarrassing rumors, including one claiming Lee is in love with Jenny. When Tina brings it up, Lee denies it and heads to detention, where Jenny waits, acting cold toward Tina. Elsewhere, Cam and Cyrus are blackmailed into singing the duet, and Holder's poem for Greta is leaked to the school. During detention, Jenny questions Lee about Tina, but is interrupted by a call from Holder. She suggests Lee's room is bugged, prompting him to rush home. The key is gone, the house smells of rotten eggs, and Lee spots a council member with his key. He chases the man, loses him, but sticks a bugging device on him. Biffy tracks the man to a casino called the Hydra. Determined to uncover the truth, Lee and Biffy decide to investigate. After losing his key to a council member, Lee and Biffy try to go to the Hydra casino, but are caught by Barrage. Instead, Cam, Biffy, and Holder go. At the Hydra, they meet the Serpent, who tricks them into deadly games for the key, lose, and they die. Meanwhile, Tina discovers the school is bugged. She, Lee, and Jenny hide the book and follow 3 council members to the pyramid, discovering Barrage is being controlled. The Serpent spares Biffy, Cam, and Holder if they answer questions about Lee, but none know the meaning of his tattoo. They learn the Serpent already gave the keys to the council. However, unlocking the pyramid fails, zapping the woman dressed in black into a coma-like state. Realizing the book holds the real secret, the council shifts its focus. Lee decides waking up the detention teacher might reveal the truth. Cassandra orders Lee to draw a map of the tunnels leading to the pyramid. When he refuses, after multiple failed attempts to wake the detention teacher, she threatens his family. At a hair salon, the Serpent questions Lee's mother, Sue, about the Ping family. Realizing his father, Alfred, is the real target, Lee rushes to find him. He witnesses the Serpent and 2 Reaper Mats attempting to neutralize Alfred, but they suddenly leave, making Lee realize the chase was just a distraction. Meanwhile, Tina and Jenny learn from the librarian that the mysterious book once belonged to the amazing Finwich. Elsewhere, students on a field trip, including Cam and Cyrus, are blackmailed into eating beetles or facing expulsion. Later at home, both Tina and Jenny inform Lee about the book. Unbeknownst to the Ping family, the Serpent has found their home thanks to his conversation with Sue. Lee's parents give him a free weekend, unaware that the Serpent is watching and secretly taking photos of their family. Hoping to ask Tina out, Lee instead finds her eager to investigate the amusement park for the amazing Finwich without Jenny. However, Jenny joins them anyway. Meanwhile, the blackmailer strikes again, forcing Cam and other students to spill hot soup on themselves. Randy encourages them to find a pattern, leading them to realize they were all once in the same class. They decide to investigate old classmates who aren't being blackmailed. At the amusement park, Tina and Jenny are captured by Lynch but are rescued by Finwich himself. Finwich reveals that Lynch is now his assistant and takes the book from Lee. Using a special viewing device to read it, he orders them to leave. Elsewhere, at the mall, Biffy and Kimmy humiliate Holder and Steve over their crush on Greta. With all 3 left heartbroken, Biffy ditches Kimmy and decides to help Holder instead. A rare solar eclipse sparks fears of an alien invasion at Enigma High. While some students panic, the Parents' Council fails to open the pyramid. Lee, Jenny, and Holger try to wake the detention teacher, while Barrage realizes he's been controlled but can't remove his chip. Finwich's robots arrive, battling hazmats and crystallizing Tina. Lee deduces the pyramid can only open during the eclipse and secretly follows Finwich, who dismisses him. Meanwhile, Cam's group, aided by Brandy, tracks the blackmailer, finding a fingerprint clue. Biffy remotely helps Lee but is attacked, causing the aircraft to crash. Lee steals the keys, but Lynch betrays Finwich and falls into a coma. Barrage confronts Lee, but Finwich shuts him down, revealing he created Barrage. As the eclipse begins, the detention teacher rises, mutters "Manifestum," and knocks Holder unconscious. The pyramid glows yellow as Lee and Finwich insert the keys. After witnessing the submarine leave, Lee, Biffy, and Holder decide to leave the hideout. Meanwhile, Tina and Jenny search for Brandy's mother's brochure to access Coral Grove's website using her login details. At school, Cam questions how Chaz obtained an embarrassing music video of him. Chaz claims it was left on his doorstep. During school assembly, Mr. Worst, the former principal, unexpectedly returns. Cyrus quits his band under blackmail pressure. While investigating, Lee sees Barrage being carried into a tunnel but gets trapped by the Serpent, who challenges him to find the only exit before being caught. Biffy and Holder escape the hideout and return via the Serpent's casino to help Lee. At Brandy's house, Tina and Jenny find the brochure. Lee outsmarts the Serpent by exploiting his fish allergy and escapes. Cam suspects Grayson is the blackmailer based on Chaz's mention of Squeaks, Grayson's wheelchair. The Serpent prints photos of Lee's family. Unaware, Biffy's phone is secretly recording everything. As the Pink family sleeps, the Serpent secretly gathers items they've used. Meanwhile, Tina and Jenny work separately. Tina accessing Coral Grove's files, Jenny deciphering the book. They admit their feelings for Lee, fearing it might hurt their friendship, and compete to impress him with their findings. Early in the morning, Lee has a nightmare about choosing between Tina and Jenny. Holder calls, warning Lee about a dream where he's crushed by a giant chicken at 9:30 a.m. At school, Cam spots Grayson fleeing but is called to Mr. Worst's office mid-chase. Barrage gives Lee, Biffy, Tina, and Jenny detention for being seconds late. When Cam confesses to cheating, Barrage and Worst fight over his punishment, settling on suspension and stripping his presidency. Cam, Lee, and Brandy try to capture Grayson, believing he's the blackmailer, but he escapes. Tina finds a way to identify Coral Grove's inmate files. Jenny suggests a pact. Neither will date Lee to save their friendship. Tina agrees right before Lee confesses to her. Devastated, Tina turns him down, leaving Lee heartbroken. In detention, Biffy suggests Holder's dream meant Lee's heart would be crushed, but the chicken part remains a mystery. Tina shows Jenny a photo from Coral Grove's files revealing Barrage, Mr. Worst, Vice Principal Victoria, Jenny's mother, and other staff in lab coats. Meanwhile, Jenny's bike is stolen and she accepts a ride from the Serpent, who plants an infected helmet lice on her, causing a school-wide outbreak. At school, Biffy tests Holder's so-called superpowers until Kimmy calls him out for hypocrisy. Lee, still heartbroken over Tina's rejection, obsessively monitors the Serpent's office feed. When the Serpent's snake dislodges the phone's charger, the camera reveals photos of Lee's family before the battery dies. Cam, stuck at home on suspension, starts to miss school. Beth, a mathlete, becomes the new president but quickly annoys everyone with her selfish rules and wizard obsession. During the life screening, the Serpent sneaks in to collect Lee's hair. Lee, Biffy, and Holder chase him, but he escapes, giving Jenny another ride as she's now smitten with him. Later, Cam suggests the Serpent might be cloning Lee's family, or just a fan. The episode ends with the Serpent scanning Lee's hair, getting a positive DNA match, and murmuring, "I finally found you." The Serpent narrates, revealing himself as one of the greatest warriors with a mission beyond Cassandra's. Now he knows the full truth. At school, Barrage orders Lee and Biffy to burn lice-infested furniture. Instead, they spot two teachers resembling Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain, making Cam's clone theory seem less ridiculous. Instead of burning the furniture, they pawn it off on some jocks and investigate. Meanwhile, Tina and Jenny run into the Serpent again. Tina lets Jenny go with him but grows concerned. In the woods, a storm hits, and the Serpent leaves Jenny to investigate something. At home, Cam, grounded and miserable, suffers through flashbacks of bullying and his annoying sister. She forces him to watch a horror movie until Holder arrives to help. Lee and Biffy find files revealing every teacher was born on February 29th, like Lee's mom. Before Lee can read her file, the Tazoworm steals and burns it. Meanwhile, the Serpent returns Jenny's stolen bike and they ride off. Grayson visits Cam to apologize for blackmailing him, revealing that every prank on Cam backfired worse on him. Later, Lee video chats with Tina, clueless that the Serpent is Jenny's mystery guy. Tina hides her feelings, stuck in the pact. Cam offers to help Brandy with the Glamazon vote, but she refuses since his reputation tanked after losing the presidency. Meanwhile, Biffy suggests talking to the 15th graders to confirm if teachers are being cloned. They bribe Chopper, who has a crush on Beth, by faking a date in exchange for info. Photos of a teacher's weight fluctuations further support their theory. Lee and Biffy decide to investigate Brandy's apartment. Brandy struggles as no one dares vote against Kimmy. Sensing trouble, Cam rushes to help. At the apartment, Mr. Langhorne invites Lee and Biffy in. They are knocked out by gas and wake up in a secret chamber filled with teachers in pods. When Lee touches one, it disintegrates, triggering an alarm. They escape. Kimmy wins again, Brandy insults her, and she's kicked out. Biffy theorizes all teachers are clones. Lee denies his mom is one, but Biffy reminds him of the evidence. To prove it, Lee jumps on his parents' bed, but nothing happens. Mr. Ping stares at one of Lee's childhood drawings, the inspiration for the school's iRobots. Fun fact, he met Sue in Korea while working for the Man, Worse, and Finwich Company, But plot twist, he doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. Meanwhile, the serpent spies on him, whispering, "Reunion time." Creepy. Holder interrupts, so the serpent bolts to go after Jenny instead. Jenny finds a book with a drawing that looks suspiciously like Lee. She freaks out and calls Tina, who drags Lee away from house chores. Oh, and Mr. Ping? Hospitalized thanks to Holder's fish-based cooking disaster. Elsewhere, the serpent takes Jenny on a surprise picnic and then steals the book. Lee chases him home where the serpent drops a bombshell. Lee's just a copy of him. Drama. Holder's safe, but Lee totally confused. Holder, feeling guilty for Mr. Ping's fish allergy fiasco, plans to gift him a basket. Tina, trapped in a man, worse, and Finwich truck, bound for Coral Grove, realizes Jenny might be next. Meanwhile, Lee hands Holder a key for protection and Cam gets roped into Chaz's ridiculous talk show. Before they can do much, Barrage catches Lee and Holder. Holder gets detention and Lee gets something worse. Jenny, searching for Tina, falls into Mr. Worst's trap. Biffy sneaks Lee into the teacher's lounge, uncovering more weirdness. Mr. Worst and his clone threaten Jenny. Hand over the book or join Tina in Coral Grove. Barrage, noticing the teachers acting oddly, decides to fix them. Holder, stuck supervising Chaz's show, takes over after Cam's public humiliation. Biffy and Lee trigger a machine, revealing the clone room. Barrage, shockingly in the know, contains the clones while Biffy and Lee sneak in. There they find the shocking truth. Lee's mom, Su Ping, is a clone. Meanwhile, Tina and Jenny escape their crate, only to realize they're in a submarine. Lee and Biffy rush to Lee's place, only to be knocked out by the serpent and wake up at Biffy's. Meanwhile, the teacher clones wake up, realizing they're clones of famous people. Su Ping wonders who she's a clone of. Barrage, confused but determined, tries to fix everything. The students, stuck with exams, Biffy, Cam, and Holder fight over the second key. But Biffy is lured to Kimmy's, only to be kidnapped by Cassandra's soldiers. Lee spots the council's men with Finwich's book, while Cam and Holder get taken too. The Taza worm helps Lee sneak after them where he sees Cassandra's men loading everyone onto a submarine. The serpent frees them, but Cassandra, in a high-tech battle suit, fights him. She wins, capturing him. Before leaving, she drops a final bomb. Tina and Jenny already at Coral Grove. Lee and the gang sneak onto the submarine as Cam distracts the hazmats until Brandy calls and he accidentally breaks his phone. Hoops. Meanwhile, at Coral Grove, Tina and Jenny face off against lie-detecting Mr. Worst clones, while the newly freed teachers demand answers. The clones roll out an old video, revealing they were made to help open the pyramid. Yikes. Back at school, students are forced to assemble pyramid pieces. Brandy, now in on Lee's plan, kisses Cam to throw off Barrage's suspicion. Mr. Worst finds Finwich's cipher, sending a clone to retrieve it. Brandy and Cam not letting that happen. Lee's team reaches Coral Grove, where they overhear Cassandra upping the interrogation. Cam and Brandy get caught, and Barrage is crystallized for objecting. In the chaos, Lee and the gang rescue Tina and Jenny, sealing Coral Grove under lockdown. Finwich, lounging in his surprisingly fancy Coral Grove suite, mutters about his late friend Alexander Nigma, the school's founder. Nigma once ventured inside the pyramid for answers but didn't make it out. His final message? Rip out a page from the book because it literally predicted the end of the world. No big deal. Cassandra storms in, demanding Finwich spill everything about the pyramid and the Ping family by tomorrow. After she leaves, Finwich wakes up Lynch. Meanwhile, Lee and the gang plot their great escape, timing it with dinner delivery. Elsewhere, Cassandra interrogates a talking lizard man about Lee's grandfather, a mysterious fourth founder. Turns out, Nigma and the Red Taz found something in the pyramid, the council leader who scarred them permanently and genetically. Lynch frees Lee's crew, but they ditch him. Classic. He later hijacks the submarine, revealing Lee's real mother is at Coral Grove. Lynch begrudgingly brings the gang back so Lee can meet Finwich, but Lee's got other priorities, finding his mom. Meanwhile, Cam and Brandy uncrystallize Barrage, but a worse clone catches them. After an awkward escape, they decide it's time to fight back. At Coral Grove, the council leader, plot twist, a surviving ancient reptilian, reveals the pyramid was meant to revive his race. Turns out Lee's grandpa sabotaged their takeover, fearing his own family could doom Earth. Cassandra objects, only for her and Kimmy to get tossed into jail. Lee and Jenny find Sue, but whoops, the council leader crashes the reunion. Cassandra escapes, frees the serpent, and then crystallizes him. At school, Barrage malfunctions, Brandy gets crystallized, and Tina drags Lynch back to Finwich, who tries to kill Lee. Dramatic much? The council leader stops him, steals Lee's key, and boom, Lee and Tina finally kiss. Just as Cam shuts down the worst clones, Blue Tazaworm arrive. But the Red Tazaworm ain't having it. Cassandra returns, crystallizes the council leader, and reveals her evil plan, selling reptilian tech. But plot twist, Kimmy crystallizes Cassandra instead. Finwich neutralizes the Tazaworm, and everyone finally breathes. Just as it seems all is well, a not-so-dead council member emerges from the pyramid, with even more reptilians. Thanks for watching. We're really hoping the creators decide to give us a Season 5 because that Season 4 cliffhanger was just too big to ignore. They need to give us the answers and a proper ending. If you had fun, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on more great content. See you in the next one.